sport wasn't really a celebrated thing that much. It became a new thing in our country recently. A lot of sports became a new thing, and art as well. Also, it wasn't a thing that was that much celebrated. It was there, it was celebrated, but not as much as these careers that are about STEM and math and everything like that, math, physics, all that. I think it's a very loaded question, but I think the most important thing to look at in that situation is like the history behind it and where it comes from. The idea of STEM and all these important industries, the big industries are taking over. Like back in the day, they used to be the most important thing. The most important thing, obviously, was your physics, your lawyer, your doctor, yeah, and your science, all of that stuff. Those are the most important things back in the day. I think it's because of the situation we had as peoples that we needed that more. We needed that more. Sports wasn't really a celebrated thing that much. It became a new thing in our country recently. A lot of sports became a new thing, and art as well. Also, it wasn't a thing that was that much celebrated. It was there, it was celebrated, but not as much as these careers that are about STEM and math and everything like that, math, physics, all that. So it's obviously our parents' generation that taught us that if we go to school, we get our degree in these fields, about engineering and everything like that, that it's the best way to go out there and get a job. And we feel like we're pressured by that. I mean, you're coming from home and everything like that. Everyone's perspective was, I become an architect or I become an engineer, I become a scientist, whatever it is. And it's the best way for me to, take care of my family and get a job and everything like that. And it's just, the issue is we grew as a country. I feel like we grew and we expanded. And the industries are now being looked at internationally, even in this country, in South Korea, Japan, China. The industries, the new innovation industries, which can be sports, which can be gaming, which can be movies, cartoons, films, everything like that. Those industries are also on the rise. They're growing. They've been growing, obviously. And the biggest thing is them being taken seriously. I think that's the biggest issue with like sports and art, because people had this thing like back in the day where if someone said, no, I'm doing sports science or I'm doing sports culture or I'm doing this or I'm doing fine arts, they'd look at you and they'd be like, brother, you're not going to make it. There's no space in the working force for you in order to make it, or to have a job or to have whatever, that can sustain you. So I think it's also a financial thing that people, when they come from home and they get told by the families, they're like, okay, the family's like, okay, like if you become an engineer, that's what pays because that's what is in demand in the workforce. And when you look at it, the whole goal is to create job opportunities for these new industries as well, so that people will want to go into the workforce and be a part of them. I think that's the biggest thing. So creating the financial opportunities and the situations where they're able to get paid in these industries is the biggest thing for our country. And something that has been happening, obviously, is innovation centers, sports academies, and some kind of like AI, yeah, AI expo center, like kind of like celebration thingies that have been happening for people, where you can go there and you can meet these big industry people, South African Silicon Valley people, and actually talk to them. Like these big CEO people, you can like talk to them. Yeah, the tech bros, you can have conversations with them and you can actually share your ideas with them. Like, I know people who have had the opportunity of getting a job because you went to the person, you showed them the phone, and you were like, this is what I've been working on at school. Because at school we have game design, or at school we have animation, or at school we have music or something like that. And then you show the person what you've been working on. They could literally be like, oh, this could be missing in what I'm doing as a CEO, or this could be missing, or this is what we need in our company. A person can get a job if they're exposed to those spaces. So I think the biggest thing is those spaces are being created slowly but surely. And on the sports side, obviously, as well, we have the sports academies, the training academies, and everything like that, where kids can go to these academies. Sure, not everyone will have the opportunity because sometimes you'll have to pay, but more and more opportunities for scholarships are being made available. And that in itself is also a way for students to use that scholarship to become professionals at that sport and get paid on a higher level of playing the sport. So the most important thing is creating financial stability in these industries that were once looked down upon back in the day. So the sports, the arts industries, the innovation industries, like we looked, we used to look at computers and we'd think, coding, this and this and that. We used to look at those things. And it was like, okay, those are the coding, the computer science, all of that is important because we need our machines to work. But what about the design side of things? What about the art side of things? What about what we watch as entertainment, the cartoons, the music videos, the all that stuff? Like, what about that? Where is the space out there in the industry on the higher level? Where is that? And it's being created. Slowly but surely we are creating it. And I'm obviously proud and happy to be a part of it. But it's it's a slow growth, and being there and seeing it happen, not necessarily being in the forefront, but hopefully one day we'll see that it's being challenged. The original STEM, about engineering, what was science, they're being challenged in what's the most important thing in this world. Whether you look at these animation, music, and everything as just entertainment or prominent parts of the top industries that we have in South Africa. You see. So yeah, and one little thing about like these industries that we're looked down upon is that they're such an important part of our culture. Like when you look at culture, like when you like look at culture, like arts and everything like that, they're so important because it's things that we grew up on as people. They see it as play because it's something that we never looked at in the professional sense. And it was always informal. It was always, oh, kids do this, kids go watch cartoons, kids go listen to music. It's not a professional thing. It's not a, oh, now when we're talking about cars, we're talking about mechanical engineer. That's not kids anymore. We're not playing with kids anymore. We're playing with this grown up stuff. Yeah, but it's those type of things. When what do you know about a 16 piston what engine? You see. So I think it being taken seriously was such a right step in South Africa's future. It was the right step in the right direction for it. And now we're seeing it be in par with computer science, computer engineering, like the AI space. You can see things like game design, you can see things like animation, you can see things like music, you can see all of these art culture, being art culture spaces being referenced in all of this. Yeah, well, we're not only looking at it as entertainment anymore, we're looking at it as something prominent in our industry. So that's what I feel like I'm proud of as well. Like it's being taken seriously. You see, even government is putting the cultural and historical part of our government is also looking into investing into a lot of projects that are happening that are on the art side of things. You see, and the sports part of our government is also looking at investing in all types of sports events and things that are happening on the sports side of things as well in this country. And it's good. I really appreciate being alive in this era because you can see the growth in the arts and the sports side of the top industries right now in South Africa. So yeah.